Okay, so I realize that this doesn't look like the coolest thing you've ever seen in the entire world. It's not a game with, fancy ships shooting things, but it is cool. So this is a test app, and these squares that we're seeing here are nested object-oriented views that are drawing themselves based on scroll offsets and anchoring properties and so on. So let me say I can hide the menu bar and the status bar, and so our main context that fills the whole screen, there's a memory buffer that's drawing into that I filled with the little Commodore logo. So the main view is inset, is anchored to all sides, but it's inset by 2. Okay? Or it's inset by 1 here. It's inset by 2 everywhere else, so it gets pulled in. That view is then scrolled. There's no scroll bar, but it has its scroll properties set so that it's scrolled down 2 rows. Inside that are 2 views that are anchored. So this one is anchored to the left, and it's set to be 12 wide. This one's anchored to the right, and it's also anchored to the left, but it's offset by some amount. Okay? This is nested inside this, and it's flush to the top and anchored to both sides of the red, but it's inset by 2 columns. Okay? So in order to see that some features of that, what we'll do is I have keyboard shortcuts set up to shrink the dimensions of the outer view to see how these things resize. So if we go like this, now this buffer is not having its color data refreshed, so it's still the same color data as this yellow here, but just ignore that. So what's happened here is as I shrink the outer view, the green is anchored to the left and offset by, say, 12. So as the outer container collapses, this stays anchored to here, but with its fixed offset, so it gets narrower. This one, however, is anchored to the left, but it's not anchored to the right. It has a fixed width, so it remains with its width. That's very cool, right? Now, we can also say turn off individual views. So I can turn off left. So when left gets turned off, you can see that this is still anchored where it was. There's a space here. Now I could have made it so that when we toggle this menu option, it not only hides this view, but also changes the offset of this view to be, instead of 12, change that offset to be 1, and it would pop over to fill up that space. I just hadn't done that. So we turn that back on. We can turn this one off. Yeah, and so you can also see that when I turn off left, it causes this guy here that's nested inside it to disappear. And what's pretty cool is, so this guy here is 5 high. This guy here is anchored to the top and bottom, inset by 1, but then the whole view is scrolled up by 2. So you get 1 row here at the bottom that it was offset by, but then because the whole yellow container has its scroll offset set by 2, all of that content scrolls up by 2. Then it gets clipped at the edge of this border, This blue thing technically draws up into, it's virtually up into here, but it gets clipped against the top of this edge. And it's 5 high, but we only really see 1, 2, 3, 4, we only see 4 rows of it because, yeah, well, because it's anchored to the top of its red. The red is clipped, the blue is clipped, but anyway, isn't that great? Very exciting.